Being a concept artist is about voice and vision and ideas and visual communication and problem solving, and they're related fields. They work together. If you can be both, if you're the kind of person that can handle learning technical skills, learning new apps, staying on top of technology and new advancements and game dev tools, but you're also an artist and you've got strong opinions and taste and you love making things, that could make you powerful. If you could be both of those things, you can be very powerful. Doing a Dimetrodon. This is a super predator from the Permian era, the size of a lion or tiger. And it is one of the first places in the fossil record that we see the saber-tooth adaptation. Somewhat in this guy and in the Gorgonopsids. Gorgonopsid is an extinct clade of saber-tooth therapsids from the middle to the upper Permian era. This is before the dinosaurs, before the Triassic. Roughly between 270 and 252 million years ago. They are characterized by a long and narrow skull, almost like a shrew, like a giant souped-up shrew, tiger shrew. Narrow skull, as well as elongated upper and sometimes lower canine teeth and incisors, which were likely used as slashing and stabbing weapons. They markedly increased in size as time went on, growing from small skull lengths of 4 to 6 inches in the middle Permian to bear-like proportions. Wow. Up to 2 feet. That's the skull itself, the skull being 2 feet long in the upper Permian. The latest Gorgonopsians, however you say that, were the most robust of the group and could produce especially powerful bites. Gorgonopsids are thought to have been completely terrestrial and could walk with a semi-erect gait, with a similar terrestrial locomotory range as modern crocodilians. They may have been more agile than their prey items, but were probably inertial homeotherms rather than endotherms. Usually there's these two ideas like endothermic and ectothermic. Ectothermics are animals that depend on outside heat sources to regulate their body temperature, like reptiles, and endotherms are animals that manage their heat or create their own heat inside their bodies. And homeotherms, let's do this, is the thermoregulation that maintains a stable internal body temperature regardless of external influence. If they redefined ectotherm? No, it looks like homeotherm is just like another classification. So ectotherms are animals that rely on external environmental sources such as sunlight or like heat lamps and stuff, lizards that we'd have at home. Endotherm, some nerdy info, maybe you'd be interested in this. Warm-blooded animals like mammals and birds that generate their own internal body heat through their metabolism, largely independent of the external environment. Interesting. Anyhow, Gorgonopsids, pretty cool. Some great art, a lot of great art on the internet featuring these guys. And there was a really cool show on Sci-Fi Channel called like Primeval, I think. Yeah, there was like a Sci-Fi Channel show. I never watched it, but the idea of it was really cool. And I watched this little battle multiple times. There's this Gorgonopsid from the past, the Permian era, and then this like future predator, some crazy creature from the future. So it's like an alien super predator versus a prehistoric super predator, and it's a pretty fun little battle. Anyhow, okay. The other day I was talking about the Spinosaurus and that like bump they have at the end of the muzzle. These guys have somewhat similar thing going on, which to me and immediately makes me think maybe they're semi-aquatic or something. They got that, the thing that you see in the alligator gar and the pelican and in the gharial and in the Spinosaurus, Suchomimus baryonyx, and they have the sail just like Spinosaurus. So I can't help think that these guys must have been like semi-amphibious predators, but I don't know if that's true. I think like where they're found with their fossils, I don't know if there's a lot of swamp and water around them. I'm not sure. Anyhow, Spinosaurus is cool. That's what I'm playing with right now, that skull type. Trying to move quick. I only have 40 minutes here and I gotta go pick up my boy from school. That actually looks pretty cool. And here's the happy accidents. Like, I both think that looks cool, and that one maintains more of the normal character or eye location, closer to the normal eye location of the Dimetrodon. But maybe I'll do both this year. Yeah, there we go. Okay, again, don't get too caught up. I like the skeletal look, but I had to introduce some soft tissue somewhere. That's cool. Reveal more of the teeth. You get kind of chunky gums back there. And I could shrink that a bit and pull it further back. Cool, we got some crazy looking eyes right there. This little project and this theme is heavily influenced by the movie Annihilation. Some of you guys have mentioned when you see this art that I've been doing, you guys mentioned Annihilation. That's totally true. I feel no shame in that. The movie's really cool. Those creatures are terrifying. That evil bear is legendary. I'd say it's probably one of the best creature designs. Probably one of my favorite creature designs of all time. Horror creature designs. Let's hear about Dimetrodon. This is from Claxamillions. Ooh, this is fun. Here we go. It appears the main purpose Dimetrodon's dorsal sail was previously believed to be for thermoregulation, being able to turn it towards the sun in the morning, warming up, and getting a head start over prey, but now they believe it is primarily for mating rituals and intimidation posturing. That would make sense. I really want it to be... I feel like when they say this stuff, the way I look at it is that would be the current viewpoint, is a good way to say it, because just like with Spinosaurus, the theories are always changing. It's like the classic example, right? A lot of us dino nerds are familiar with. I'll show you guys an example here. Like over the years, the way Spinosaurus body and posture... Oh, this is great. Whatever artist did this, great. Right here, Totoru. This is a pretty good example. This is the way they thought the creature stood in 1915. And you see through 1970s, 1980s, 2001, 2008, 2014. This is like the one we saw in Jurassic Park 3, where when we were kids, we were all excited, like, wow, Spinosaurus is bigger than T-Rex, so cool. But then they start to believe it's maybe more of a amphibious fish-eating animal. When I see this body, this gait, the kind of claws it has, that hump or sail, that makes me think of the way brown bears... I'm going to geek out for a bit. Talking about Spinosaurus again. Somehow I ended up talking about Spinosaurus again. I love this. Remember these photos like you see them in the river? Bears are endotherms, and they have all this fat on their bodies, and they're warm-blooded, tons of fur. So they can stay in that water quite a while. But imagine you're something like this animal. If you're going to stay in really cold water for a long time fishing, it's probably going to start to slow you down. You're going to get sluggish. You're going to get cold. If it's a long time, you're going to stay in there like all day long. Think about it. If you had this sail above your body out of the water, getting sunlight on it, helping circulate blood like down into the part of your body that's submerged, I could see that being like really useful for an amphibious fish-eating dinosaur. Like really, really useful. Compared to Suchomimus and Baryonyx that we think do not have the sails, Spinosaurus was probably able to stay submerged, partially submerged, a lot longer. Fish longer, get more food. I don't know if that's true, but I like to consider myself a super casual enthusiast in relation to this stuff. Part of the fun for me is considering the way these things lived, imagining them and thinking about how they live, what they were like. And I like to imagine that maybe Dimetrodon was doing something similar. But again, could be that's totally wrong. For the most part, I don't know if we can really, if anyone can ever really say for sure, because we don't get to observe how these animals lived in their original time and context. It's just part of the paleontologist's prerogative to attempt to know as part of their work. It's like how you make a name for yourself and publish finding. But any of them, I think they would tell you like they know exactly how it was. Like they're kind of full of shit if you think about it, because they can't get back into the past. Like they can't actually confirm this stuff. Those things like looking at stomach remains and the geography of the areas around where they live, kind of plants and small animals that are found in the strata around the bones, the bones they find. There's a really cool game I found out about recently. Speaking of all this horror stuff, it's called Terrible Lizards. You guys got to check it out. Holy shit. I thought I was cool for doing... Not that I'm the first one who's ever done this stuff. For sure I'm not. Michael Vincent, and great concept artist, and Carlos Fuentes. I'm sure lots of other people. But I was feeling cool. Like, like maybe I'm iterating on some slightly new territory. And then because I was posting dino horror and whatever in the algorithm, I got recommended a game, an indie game. I got recommended this indie game. Check this out. This is the kind of thing I want to be working on. Holy shit. You barely get to see anything in the trailer. But what you do get to see. Ah! That's so cool, dude. Dang. Yeah, we gotta do a Dilophosaurus soon. So I don't really know much about this at all, but they got crazy human mutant dinosaur creatures, and I'm jealous. It looks so sick. Oh my gosh. Terrible lizards. I want to work on something like that. And it looks pretty simple. Like the trailer, they didn't show any features, like any gameplay, just that one creature, that one really evocative Dilophosaurus mutant guy. Man, I want to work on something like that. Sheesh. To make it. A lot of these, I'm just going off skull and making something crazy and kind of having fun. I'm not actually doing too much really conscious design work of the kind that I would. If I was really taking this serious as like game, maybe in the earliest stage on a game, I'd go in and make crazy stuff like this, but I don't have a brief here, I guess, is my point. What you just laid out there, Asimov, if we wanted to have some kind of a creature that was like a kind of security system, a guardian of sorts. A lot of these old depictions of Dimetrodons laying around on rocks with their sails up in the air, those old school interpretations using their sails to thermoregulate. What if you had this creature hiding in the bushes, in the jungle, in the muck, and the sail was somewhat chaotic shape that could easily be lost in the jungle or in the forest? It just kind of looked like debris or something. And you'd have to try to like sneak around this creature, but it would have this 360-degree vision, so that would be part of the reason why we would have eyes going, these many more sets of eyes than a lot of the other creatures. Like that could be a reason to do that. And then one of you mentioned using the sail for signaling, communicating like emotional state or like aggression. You could use the sail in that way too. That could be pretty cool. And in a game, like you're trying to sneak around this thing, moving really slow, and if you start making too much noise or it starts to get wind of you, you see the blood start to rise up in the sail, move through all the little capillaries, and you begin to see a color change on the sail. You begin to see it's turned kind of red, and if it gets fully red, it knows that you're there and it's going to rush to attack you or something. That could be pretty cool. That's what I'm missing here to some degree during this process when I'm doing these sketches, but I don't really mind. It's fun to just make stuff and not worry too much about like constraints or briefs. It has its own benefits to getting opportunities to just make things, just be free, have a good time, learn some new techniques, push yourself a little bit. In my workshops with students and stuff, that's where we're always focusing on briefs, thinking like concept artists, like professionals. We have like a mission task from the senior artist or art director or designers. But man, I actually really like that idea. That's how I'd probably use a creature like this. Some kind of, and then you could put them in really cool little set pieces up on rocks and cliffs and nest them in weird spots in the forest. Asimov says, the way I create, I often imagine the visual first and then figure out what the role it serves after. I mean, that could work, but that doesn't work as good for like on the job kind of work. I don't imagine you can get a brief from a guy like Guillermo del Toro or James Cameron and then come back and be like, well, I know you asked for squid, but like, don't you think that this dolphin is so cool? Don't you think that'd be better? I don't think it would fly. Like you gotta, some of these people you work with, like real people have vision and they're really good and they know what they're doing and they have like something in mind, and you got to make what they ask you to make, be able to come up with a way to contribute to that vision. Here's a good question, or maybe I can end with. It's from Turkey Club. Thank you. If you had to advise a new indie 3D game dev with little to no 2D or 3D art experience, would it be more efficient to mimic traditional processes of concept art all the way up to 3D models? Or only focus on 3D models and develop that skill alone for iteration process and save on time it takes on? Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah. Okay. I know the AI stuff is highly contentious, but there are people using it. Companies are using it. Not all. What I feel like I see happening is that the age of the time of the 2D artist where, let me back up, because I could be wrong here. Maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's possible that the sort of place in the pantheon of art and excellence and achievement that the highly rendered 2D image has held, that place may be lost. The artists who have spent their life making the pretty picture may find themselves in some trouble. They're still going to be valued, I think, and they still will be able to find work, but may not be quite what it was. There's been a kind of a boom around concept art as an industry and concept art education for quite a long time now, but I have a feeling that's going to change. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It really doesn't, because some people just really love it. Like that's what they want to do. In that case, they should do that. But I think these tools are just going to get, all these tools are going to get better and better and faster and more intuitive and more powerful. And I don't know if it's going to be as necessary to get a really pretty 2D, a really good 2D picture. I think what you should learn to do, like look at guys like Brian Wynea, Kevin Cassidy, Jared Morantz, Ben Morrow, like all the guys that are really, really good. I think really good concept artists are using 3D, and a lot of them do have 2D skills, but it's not really about making the pretty picture. It's about making something feel real, getting it done fast, being able to provide multiple angles, applying contextual lighting, making it feel as near to the final asset that will be in the film or the game as possible. All of those concerns seem to be pretty high priority and powerful. So if you are young and you want to be a concept artist, you need to learn how to design. And that means you need to learn how to make choices. That's a big kind of airy statement, learn to design. But from my perspective, it means you need to learn how to make choices, good choices that are appealing, that are cool, that work within a provided framework, work within constraints. That's a big statement. You need to learn to design. It's a big statement. You need to learn to design. You need to have tastes, like your own. That's a related idea. You need to have your own personal tastes, sensibilities that guide your choices and make you stand out as a unique voice amongst all these other people you're going to be competing with. And and you need to be able to work in 3D. If I was talking to younger me, I'd say you need to learn 3D. If I was trying to get into this field now and having to compete with all these other people, I would totally be getting into 3D. My son was going to try to be a concept artist. Not right away. I think actually the hand sculpting experience and drawing experience, analog experience is a big part of developing taste and skill, but really getting a job and being useful and being like a useful part of the pipeline, 3D skills are very important. But being a concept artist isn't just 3D. It's not just like you'll see a lot of people that go learn 3D and they're making crazy lizard people and dragons and stuff. Being a concept artist is about voice and vision and ideas and visual communication and problem solving. And they're related fields. They work together. If you can be both, if you're the kind of person that can handle learning technical skills, learning new apps, staying on top of technology and new advancements and game dev tools, but you're also an artist and you've got strong opinions and taste and you love making things, that could make you powerful. If you could be both of those things, you can be very powerful. All those dudes I mentioned earlier, that's kind of how they are. If you'll notice, they're very technical and are using all the best latest stuff, and they're also people of vision. So if you really want to be successful, you need both. You need to learn the cool new tools, but it's not enough just to be the tools guy, because with AI, being a tools guy is not going to be as much of a sure bet for your career. Yeah, that was a good rant. I gotta go pick up my son. Thank you. That was a good one.